Imagine this. You walk into a room. People glance at you, trying to read you. Some with smiles, some with hidden envy, some with quiet malice. They wait for a reaction, a smile, a nod, a sign of weakness. And in that very moment, you realize something. Your emotions are their weapons. If you feel too much, they own you. If you react too quickly, they control you. But if you feel nothing, if you master the art of emotional detachment, suddenly, you are untouchable. This is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming dangerous. This is about taking Machiavelli's cold, ruthless truths and applying them in a world where empathy is often nothing more than manipulation in disguise. Welcome to part 1 of Feel Nothing, Control Everything, Machiavelli. Let's start with a brutal truth. Most people don't care about you. They care about how you make them feel, what they can extract from you, and how they can use your emotions for their gain. Think back to the last time someone guilt-tripped you. Maybe a friend said, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" Or maybe a partner told you, "If you loved me, you'd do this." What were they doing? They weren't appealing to logic. They weren't negotiating with reason. They were pulling on the strings of your emotions because they knew those strings were weak points. And here's what Machiavelli understood centuries ago. People who live by emotion are puppets, and those who can cut their emotions, who can detach, become the puppeteers. Now, you might say, but isn't compassion a good thing? Isn't feeling deeply what makes us human? Yes, but here's the catch. Compassion, in the wrong hands, becomes a leash. When people know you feel too much, they weaponize it. They exaggerate their pain. They play the victim. They dramatize their struggles, all to make you bend. Your empathy becomes their control. Think of it like a battlefield. Emotions are not neutral. They're weapons. If you enter war without armor, with your heart wide open, you will bleed first. Machiavelli wasn't against feelings. He was against being ruled by them. He knew that in politics, in war, and in life, the one who feels less controls, the one who feels more. Most people think that power is shown through rage, through shouting, through dominance. But that's a lie. Anger is still an emotion, and emotions can be read, predicted, and manipulated. Silence, on the other hand, terrifies. Imagine someone insults you, expecting you to snap back, to argue, to prove yourself. But instead, you look at them, calm, unreadable, silent. That silence breaks them, because silence says, "You don't matter enough to move me." This is the Machiavellian principle at work. Control is not about loudness, it's about stillness. The one who cannot be provoked cannot be defeated. So how do you start building this armor? It begins with awareness. Every time someone tries to guilt-trip you, notice it. Every time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Don't react immediately. That pause, that stillness, is the beginning of your power. Ask yourself, what do they gain if I react? More often than not, they gain control over you. They push you into playing their game. But if you remain detached, they lose. They feel powerless. Machiavelli believed that to rule effectively, one must appear calm, calculated, and above all emotionally untouchable. It doesn't mean you never feel. It means you never show what you feel. You control the mask, and through that mask, you control the room. This isn't just theory. Look at your daily life. At work, when your boss criticizes you harshly, how do you react? If you get defensive, they win. If you crumble, they dominate. But if you remain calm, even slightly detached, you take their power away. In relationships, when someone threatens to leave unless you comply, what happens if you beg? You give them the upper hand. But if you remain still, detached, their threat loses weight. On the streets, in negotiations, in friendships, emotional warfare is everywhere. Most people don't even see it. But once you do, you realize the strongest person is not the one who feels more, it's the one who controls what they feel. And this, right here, is your first awakening. The world doesn't reward the overly emotional. The world rewards those who master emotional distance, those who can turn off the noise inside their chest and think with cold clarity. This is what Machiavelli teaches us. Feel less, control more, detach, and you dominate. But this is just the beginning, because once you learn how to detach from guilt, manipulation, and provocation, you are ready for the next stage. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the exact strategies of emotional control, the tools that allow you to remain untouchable, no matter what storms rage around you. Remember this: they can only control you if you let them. And the moment you stop reacting, you stop being their puppet. You become the puppeteer. In the first part, we uncovered the brutal truth. Emotions are not innocent. They are tools of control. If you don't master them, someone else will. We learned that silence is more powerful than anger, that guilt is often a chain, and that detachment is the beginning of power. But now, we move deeper. If part 1 was about awakening, part 2 is about training. This is where you learn to build the armor, the inner fortress of emotional discipline. And once you wear that armor, no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can pierce you. This is where Machiavelli would say, you must become untouchable, even in the fire. Let's start with distance. Emotional distance is not about avoiding people. It's about separating your feelings from your decisions. Imagine a chessboard. Every piece moves with purpose. But if you move a piece in anger, you lose the game. The best players don't play for emotions, they play for victory. Life is the same. When someone insults you, distance tells you, this is not about me, this is about their weakness. When someone tries to guilt trip you, distance reminds you, this is not my responsibility, this is their tactic. You create a mental gap between stimulus and reaction. And in that gap, you find control. Here's a secret. People are addicted to reaction. They insult you because they want to see you explode. They guilt you because they want to see you fold. They test you because they want to see you break. So, what happens when you give them nothing? When your face is unreadable, your voice calm, your body language still? You frustrate them. You break the script. You deny them the reaction they crave. This is why Machiavelli praised indifference, because indifference is not weakness, it's a weapon. Indifference makes people doubt themselves. They wonder, did I fail to move him? Is he stronger than me? Does he see through me? And the more they doubt, the more control shifts to you. But how do you build this indifference? It begins inside. You must train yourself like a warrior trains for battle, not with swords, but with emotions. Step 1. Practice the pause. When provoked, do not respond immediately. Wait. Breathe. Let the moment pass before you act. That pause breaks the chain of reaction. Step 2. Reframe attacks. When someone criticizes you, instead of asking, why are they hurting me? Ask, what are they revealing about themselves? Their insult is not about you. It is a mirror of their insecurity. Step 3. Control exposure. Don't give everyone access to your emotions. Share less. Reveal less. The less they know, the less they can use. Machiavelli said, appear as others want you to appear, but never reveal your true heart. This fortress is not walls of stone. It is discipline, silence, and selective expression. To see the value of this fortress, look at its opposite. Look at those who cannot control their emotions. The hot-tempered man who explodes at every insult. He is predictable. Easy to provoke, easy to trap. The overly compassionate woman who gives endlessly. She is drained, used, discarded. The insecure friend who always seeks validation. He is desperate, dependent, controlled. Society teaches us to admire emotion, but in truth, excessive emotion is slavery. The one who controls his feelings becomes master. The one who doesn't becomes prey. Here's a disturbing truth. People respect coldness more than kindness. Think of leaders, conquerors, bosses, even celebrities. The ones remembered are not the ones who cried openly. They are the ones who seemed untouchable, unmoved, above ordinary emotion. Why? Because coldness suggests power. Coldness suggests control. And people, deep down, admire what they cannot shake. This doesn't mean you must be cruel. It means you must be controlled. You may feel compassion, but you don't let it blind you. You may feel anger, but you don't let it guide you. You may feel sadness, but you don't let it show on the battlefield of life. Machiavelli knew, the one who feels nothing in public controls everything in private. So how do you practice? Begin small. The next time someone tries to bait you online, don't reply. Stay silent. The next time a friend pressures you with guilt, smile faintly, say little, and move on. The next time your emotions surge, pause, breathe, and ask, what outcome benefits me most? This is training. Small victories build into discipline. Discipline builds into detachment, and detachment transforms into power. Because here's the truth, control is not built in grand moments. It is built in the daily grind, in the unseen battles where you choose silence over outburst, calm over chaos, reason over reaction. And so, part 2 leaves you with this law. Emotions are the chains others use to bind you, but chains only work if you agree to wear them. Detach, step back, wear the mask of indifference, build the inner fortress, and soon, no one will know how to move you, how to shake you, how to control you. This is not about killing your humanity, it is about mastering it. This is not about becoming numb, it is about becoming free. And once you achieve this emotional distance, you are ready for the next stage. Because in part 3, we will explore the psychology of manipulation itself, how people weaponize empathy, fear, and desire against you, and how to turn those weapons back on them. We've built the foundation. We've learned that silence crushes louder than rage, that indifference breaks control, and that emotional distance is the first step to power. But now, we step into darker territory. Because here's the truth. The world is not neutral. People around you are not innocent players. Many, whether consciously or unconsciously, are manipulators. They exploit guilt, fear, desire, and love to bend you. And this is where Machiavelli's wisdom burns like fire. If you don't understand manipulation, you will always be its victim. But if you study it, master it, and see through it, you gain the power to not only defend yourself, but to turn the game in your favor. This is part 3, the psychology of manipulation. Let's start with guilt. Guilt is one of the oldest weapons of control. It is soft, invisible, but devastating. Think about it. How many times have you said yes to something you didn't want to do just to avoid feeling guilty? How many times have you sacrificed your time, your energy, your money because someone made you feel like you owed them? Machiavelli would call this weakness, because guilt is not truth. Guilt is an illusion built by others to control you. The manipulator says, "After all I've done for you," or "If you were a good person, you would." But what are they really saying? They're saying, "I can't force you, so I'll trick you into forcing yourself." When you see guilt as a weapon, you stop carrying it, you drop the weight, and suddenly the weapon breaks. Next comes fear. Fear is manipulation in its purest form. Bosses threaten jobs, partners threaten abandonment, friends threaten exclusion, governments threaten punishment. The message is always the same. Do what I say, or you will lose something you value. But here's the secret Machiavelli understood. Fear works only if you cling too tightly. If you fear loss, they own you. If you accept loss, you are free. When you can walk away from anything, a job, a friend, even a lover, you become dangerous because nothing can be used against you. Freedom is not found in security. Freedom is found in fearlessness. Now, let's talk about desire. Desire is not just lust. It is wanting approval, validation, recognition, success. Manipulators know this. They dangle what you crave, like bait on a hook. A boss says, "Work harder, and maybe one day you'll be promoted." A lover says, "If you change, I'll finally give you what you want." Society whispers, "If you buy this, wear this, live like this, you'll finally be enough." But Machiavelli warns, desire makes you predictable, and predictability makes you vulnerable. The antidote? Restrain your hunger, control your wants, because the man who cannot be bribed with validation, who cannot be baited with approval, who cannot be bought with promises, he becomes untouchable. Now comes the darkest weapon, empathy. On the surface, empathy looks noble, it looks kind, but manipulators use it like poison. They exaggerate their suffering, their sadness, their wounds, not because they want healing, but because they want control. They know that if you feel deeply, you will act against your own interest to save them. They make you carry their burdens, fight their battles, and sacrifice your peace while they sit back and feed on your compassion. This is why Machiavelli whispers, "Your heart is your greatest weakness." It does not mean never feel. It means never let your feelings be hijacked. Empathy should be a choice, not an obligation. Give it when you decide not, when it is demanded. Here is the chilling truth. Manipulation works only when it is hidden. When you see it, the illusion breaks. The guilt tripper looks pathetic once you recognize the tactic. The fearmonger looks powerless once you accept loss. The seducer looks desperate once you stop desiring. The emotional blackmailer looks exposed once you refuse to play. Machiavelli understood that most manipulation is smoke and mirrors, and the moment you see the trick, you stop being the audience. You become the magician. But awareness is not enough. Machiavelli did not stop at defense, he believed in turning the weapon back. When you master silence, you can use it to manipulate the manipulator. When they expect outrage, you give calm. When they expect guilt, you give indifference. When they expect fear, you give fearlessness. Suddenly, they are the ones disoriented. Their weapons crumble, their tactics fail, and you calm, detached, cold, become the one in control. And this is the revelation of part 3. Manipulation is not rare. It is everywhere. Every day, people try to push, pull, and bend you with emotion. But the one who sees through the game, the one who feels less, reacts less, desires less, cannot be moved. Machiavelli teaches us, the wise man is not the one who trusts the world. The wise man is the one who sees the world as it is, ruthless, selfish, manipulative, and chooses to rise above it. So, your task is simple. Study the tactics. See the guilt. Recognize the fear. Watch the bait of desire. Notice the blackmail of empathy. And once you see them, you are no longer a victim. You are a player. In part 4, we go further. We will explore the art of silence, the strategy of non-reaction, and how stillness becomes the ultimate weapon of psychological warfare. Words are noise. Emotions are noise. Arguments are noise. But silence? Silence is a blade sharper than any sword. The manipulator wants one thing above all else, your reaction. They want your voice raised, your heart racing, your nerves fraying. Why? Because the moment you react, you are predictable. You are controllable. But when you give them nothing, no reaction, no defense, no emotional energy, suddenly the game flips. They lose their grip, their tactics fail, and you remain untouchable. This is part 4, the art of silence and psychological warfare. Ask yourself, why does silence create panic? Because silence is unreadable. It gives no clue, no leverage, no entry point. Manipulators thrive on emotional feedback. They poke, prod, and test until they see you crack. But when you give them nothing, their script collapses. Their mind scrambles. They expected fire, but received ice. They expected guilt, but received calm. They expected drama, but received stillness. Silence reveals their weakness, and in that moment, they feel the fear you used to feel. Psychologically, Silence is not absence, it is pressure. When you don't respond, the manipulator fills the silence with their own doubts. They start over-explaining. They expose their motives. They confess their tactics without realizing it. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Sometimes saying nothing says everything. A ruler, a strategist, a warrior. Those who mastered silence could control entire rooms without lifting a finger. And here's the truth. Silence is not weakness. It is control disguised as calm. Think of an argument. The manipulator pushes. You push back. They twist your words. You try to clarify. They accuse you of being emotional. You defend yourself harder. The argument never ends because it was never designed to end. The purpose was not resolution, it was control. But if you stop reacting, if you let the words bounce off you like arrows against stone, you win instantly. The manipulator cannot argue with silence. They cannot twist silence. They cannot bait silence. Silence ends the game before it begins. Picture this. Someone betrays you. They expect rage, shouting, tears. That's their real prize, your brokenness. But imagine instead, you give them nothing. You do not fight. You do not cry. You simply turn away. Calm, unreadable. That silence is unforgettable. It lingers in their mind, haunting them, because it denies them what they craved most, your reaction. Machiavelli would call this psychological dominance, because silence is not passive. Silence is an active refusal to play their game. Think about politics, business, relationships, any field of power. The strongest figures often speak the least. Why? Because the more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more you can be used. But the man who listens more than he speaks, who observes more than he explains, he becomes a mystery, and mystery is power. Machiavelli wrote that rulers should never reveal their entire hand. Silence is how you hide your strategy. Silence is how you keep others guessing. And the one who keeps others guessing controls them. But let's be clear, silence is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires crushing the urge to explain, defend, or justify yourself. So how do you master it? Step 1. Recognize bait. When someone says, "Why are you so cold? Why won't you talk?" That is bait. Do not bite. Step 2. Replace reaction with observation. Instead of answering, watch. Study their moves. Silence creates space to think. Step 3. End conversations with stillness. Do not be dragged into arguments designed to drain you. Silence is your exit. Remember, silence is not surrender. It is strategy. Here's the final truth. Silence is not just defense, it is attack. When you go silent, you force the manipulator into chaos. They start performing harder. They escalate. They get desperate. And in their desperation, they reveal themselves. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their tactics back at them. They thought they were in control, but in reality, you made them dance in front of their own reflection. That's warfare. Silent, clean, devastating. So here is your lesson. Silence is not absence of power. It is the highest form of power. The weak shout. The strong stay calm. The weak explain. The strong observe. The weak react. The strong decide. In silence, you are not empty. You are full of control. And the moment you no longer give them what they seek, reaction, you become invisible to manipulation. In Part 5, we will take this further. We will explore how to build emotional discipline so strong, so unshakable, that no guilt trip, no betrayal, no storm of chaos can touch you. That is the edge. That is the shield. That is the next step in becoming untouchable. Every battle of control comes down to one thing: discipline. You can study manipulation. You can learn silence. You can even master detachment. But if you don't have discipline, you will still break. Because the enemy is not only out there, the enemy is inside you. Your own emotions, your own impulses, your own need to react? Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He knew that leaders, warriors, strategists, those who conquered history, were not just clever, they were disciplined. They were not ruled by chaos inside themselves. This is part 5, the making of emotional discipline. Ask yourself, what separates the weak from the strong? It's not intelligence, it's not resources, it's not even luck. It's control. The one who cannot control their emotions is a slave. Slave to anger, to fear, to desire, to guilt. They dance on strings, not pulled by others, but pulled by their own weakness. But the one who disciplines his emotions, he becomes a fortress, unshaken, unmoved. He does not need to scream. He does not need to explain. He chooses every word, every move, every silence with precision. That is real power. Let's expose the truth. What happens when you lack discipline? You forgive too easily. You explode too quickly. You cling too desperately. You break too often. Indiscipline makes you predictable. Indiscipline makes you exploitable. Indiscipline makes you weak. The manipulator thrives on your lack of discipline. They know that if they press the right button, you will explode. If they show the right tears, you will collapse. If they whisper the right words, you will surrender. Without discipline, you are nothing but a puppet. So, how do you build discipline? How do you train your emotions until they no longer control you? Step 1. Pause before reaction. Create a gap. When something triggers you, stop, breathe, do not move. That gap is power. That gap is where you decide not your emotions. Step 2. Separate feelings from action. You can feel anger, but you do not have to act on it. You can feel sorrow, but you do not have to collapse under it. Emotion is not command, it is just noise. Step 3. Practice restraint. Say less than you want to. Give less than they expect. Hold back more than they deserve. This trains the muscle of control. Step 4. Detach from outcomes. When you are obsessed with winning, with being liked, with being right, you are already trapped. Discipline means walking away without fear. Imagine a battlefield. The undisciplined soldier charges blindly, raging, swinging wildly. He dies first. The disciplined warrior? He waits. He observes. He strikes only when the time is perfect. One strike, one kill. Calm, precise, cold. Life is the same battlefield. Those who lack emotional discipline burn themselves out. They shout. They chase. They beg. They overgive. They overfeel. And they die inside, long before their enemies touch them. But the disciplined one lives like the warrior measured, calculating, unstoppable. Here is a secret. Emotional discipline is not only for you, it is for the world. Because when you master your emotions, you create a mask, a face the world cannot read, and this mask terrifies manipulators. They cannot tell if you are angry, if you are broken, if you are plotting. Machiavelli wrote that leaders must learn to wear masks, appearances of kindness, of generosity, of calm, even when inside they are calculating strategy. The mask confuses enemies and stabilizes allies. Your discipline is not just defense, it is your disguise, your weapon, your shield. Discipline is tested most in relationships. Lovers, friends, family, these are where manipulators thrive. The lover cries to keep you. The friend guilts you to control you. The family member uses duty to enslave you. If you lack discipline, you fold, you explain, you chase, you sacrifice. But if you have discipline, you hold your line, you enforce your boundaries, you do not bend under guilt or tears. That is why so few people are truly free. They lack discipline in the face of love, and so love becomes their leash. Here is the paradox. The more disciplined you are, the freer you become. Most people think freedom means saying whatever you want, doing whatever you feel, but that is chaos. That is slavery to impulse. True freedom is control. True freedom is silence when provoked. True freedom is walking away without fear. True freedom is smiling in betrayal and not breaking. Discipline builds that freedom. Discipline is the price of being untouchable. So understand this. Emotional discipline is not optional. It is not luxury. It is survival. Without it, you will be bent, broken, and used by anyone who understands your strings. With it, you become bulletproof. The manipulator's tears bounce off you. Their anger slides past you. Their seduction fails against you. And in that moment, you rise above them not because you never felt, but because you never surrendered to feeling. In Part 6, the final chapter, we will tie it all together. You will learn how to live as someone truly untouchable, not just defending against manipulation, but ruling over it. Not just surviving emotional warfare, but mastering it. That is the last step. That is the final transformation. This is the end, the conclusion. Everything we've uncovered, detachment, silence, emotional warfare, and discipline has been leading here. To the ultimate transformation. To the moment where you no longer react like the masses, no longer bend under guilt, no longer collapse under emotion. This final part is not about defense. It is about dominance. It is about becoming untouchable, not just surviving manipulation, but mastering it, bending it to your will. This is Part 6, Living Untouchable. Most people spend their entire lives trying to survive emotionally. They patch their wounds. They chase comfort. They try to please everyone so they don't feel pain. But you are not here to survive. You are here to dominate. To live untouchable means you rise above the emotional games of others. You no longer play their tug of war. You cut the rope. You no longer chase their approval. You decide who is worthy of your presence. You no longer bend when pressured. You bend others. Survival is about not drowning. Dominance is about owning the ocean. Picture society. Most people are sheep emotional, reactive, desperate to belong, desperate to be loved, desperate to be seen. Then there are predators, few, rare, but powerful. They do not beg for love, they command respect. They do not cry for pity, they demand loyalty. They do not fear betrayal, because betrayal cannot break them. Living untouchable means stepping into that predator role, not to harm for no reason, but to rule without being ruled, to influence without being influenced, to remain unmoved while everyone else drowns in their emotions. Machiavelli did not admire the sheep. He studied the wolves. He studied the lions. He studied those who conquered not because they were loved, but because they were feared, respected, untouchable. Why does the untouchable one win? Because coldness is an advantage. The manipulator screams, but you remain silent. The betrayer lies, but you remain calm. The desperate beg, but you remain still. And in that stillness, they break. Because nothing is more terrifying to the emotional than facing the one who feels nothing. Your silence forces them to hear their own weakness. Your calm exposes their chaos. Your detachment magnifies their desperation. This is the power of the cold advantage. You do not need to fight to win. You win by refusing to be moved. But make no mistake, being untouchable does not mean becoming numb. It does not mean you never feel. It means you never let feelings become chains. You can feel love, but not dependency. You can feel compassion, but not guilt. You can feel anger, but not recklessness. Emotion is a tool. You hold it, you wield it, but you never let it wield you. The untouchable master does not cut out their heart. They cage it, they control it, and when they decide to use it, it becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Living untouchable means you no longer need noise. Authority is not in shouting. Power is not in begging. Control is not in proving. It is in presence, in silence, in calm, that unnerves everyone around you. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And fear does not come from threats. It comes from discipline, from mystery, from the unshakable aura of someone who cannot be moved. When you walk into a room and remain untouchable, people feel it. They sense it. They are drawn to it, or they are terrified by it. Either way, you win. So, how do you live untouchable day by day? Do not over-explain. Explanations are chains. Speak little. Do not overgive. Generosity without strategy is weakness. Do not overreact. Calmness is your fortress. Do not overattach. Love with control. Walk away when needed. Do not fear silence. Silence is power. Every day, people will try to manipulate you. With words, with guilt, with affection, with fear. Your task is not to fight every attempt. Your task is to let their weapons break against your shield of detachment. You are not prey. You are no one's toy. You are the master of your own emotions. And here is the truth most will never understand. The untouchable one becomes immortal. Because when you are no longer controlled by emotions, you live beyond them. You live above betrayal, above loss, above heartbreak, above manipulation. Pain touches you, but it does not break you. Love enters your life, but it does not enslave you. Enemies plot against you, but they cannot move you. You become a constant in a world of chaos, a fortress in a world of storms, a ruler in a world of slaves. This is immortality, not of the body, but of the spirit. So remember, feeling nothing is not weakness. It is strength. It is control. The world is full of manipulators, flatterers, liars, beggars, guilt trippers, and betrayers. They survive by preying on the weak, by preying on those who feel too much. But you are no longer weak. You are no longer prey. You have trained silence. You have forged detachment. You have built discipline. And now you live untouchable. This is not numbness. This is not apathy. This is power. This is mastery. This is freedom. You are untouchable. You feel nothing. You control everything.